Hello, this is my comments on conservatives versus liberals. And I'd like to open up with the 38th verse of the Tao Te Ching. When the Tao is forgotten, there is righteousness. When righteousness is forgotten, there is morality. When morality is forgotten, there is the law. The law is the husk of faith, and trust is the beginning of chaos. To preface this, I'd like to say that the universe, to me, is 99% in order. Generally speaking, whether there is an overseer or not, creation generally does what it's supposed to do. However, there is that 1%, that little worm that likes to go through and disrupt and disorganize, it would seem. But in reality, it is 100%. It is a different kind of order, but it is order, but not necessarily control. Okay. Conservatism, as it is being defined, is order, especially moral order. The comment is, nature is good and moral because everything comes from nature. Structure is moral, and it is what it is threatened by is immoral. Now, to me, from nature's point of view, nature is not good or bad because nature has no choice. There is no point where nature says, this is what I want to be, and that's what it is. All nature can do is do what it's practically programmed to do with a little space for circumstantial choice. Now, if there is no choice, to me, there is no morality. And nature is an example. But nature is not the law. There is nothing about nature that ultimately says, you are confined by me. The earth, although it is our point of view, it does not confine us anymore, whether in our thoughts, what we can see, or even what we can experience. Thus, naturally, the natural laws can be bent or broken. But that is natural. It's not good. It's not immoral. It simply is. That's the way it's set up. And that would be the 1% chaos where things appear to be a certain way until you actually try. And a lot of times one will find that things are not always what they seemed. The next comment is, the highest moral objective of conservatism is to maintain the moral order. For people who call themselves conservatives, this may be true. But for real conservatism, that is by definition with servitude or with serving, there is no possible disruption of the order. There's nothing actually to maintain. All one can do is go with the flow. And that is, conservatism would be to not be a servant, because you're with servants. You're with servitude. If you were actually being a servant, it would simply be called servantism. Okay, so conservatism isn't actually servitude, but it uses servitude to achieve the goals. And it is to say, I negate myself enough to prepare for the future, not only for myself, but for all. Because those who work with servants are the protectors, naturally so. So I am protecting myself, I am protecting my progeny through ensuring provision I am conserving. I am rationing or rationaling. That is true conservatism. With serving, I have learned to be liberal as an equal. Why? Because we're all the same. We're all part of the 100%. There is no actual 99% and 1%. It's all 1% or 100%. Now, the comments go on to say liberalism, their main focus is equality. What is it? Oh, caustic to the moral order, it is said. And that might be somewhat true in that equality is central, and the moral order is always to the left or to the right. It's never centered, because if it was centered, there would be no morals, there would be no point for morals. However, the idea of equality and the idea of morality, that is, doing what is right, is a central point, and inherently they are the same thing. The comment is, most aspects of life are beyond control. I generally agree with that. You can't choose our circumstances. I generally agree with that. Oh, of course, there are certain things you can choose, such as once you're born and grow up, where you stay, or once you're born and grow up, what you eat, once you're born or grow up, what you learn. You know, there is no point that says you can never get beyond your circumstances. They want to create a system where everyone is treated equally. They want everyone given the same opportunity. The liberals' highest moral objective is to build a society based on fairness, equality, personal responsibility, and social responsibility. Now, that's all fine and dandy to say, but the reality of the situation is the current system, the current welfare state system that attempts to look out for everyone equally, was created by liberals. JFK and Lyndon Johnson brought about this great society, and what it turned out to be was a great flop, an epic fail. And it's not because it was done by liberals. It's that way because it was not coming from a point of equality. It was coming from a point of have and have not, as opposed to, if we do this right, everyone can have. There will be no more haves and have-nots. Government has this ability to maintain separation. And that is the ultimate point of conservatism and liberalism. They're the same thing. Like communism and Nazism were the same thing, both socialist movements. It's just two faces to the same coin, or two different sides to the same coin. Conservatives I would label as pack animals. Liberals I would label as herd animals. They're both acting like animals. They're both in this us versus them mentality. And that is why equality and a sense of moral security where you don't have to be afraid of your neighbor will never be achieved. Because as long as you perpetuate division, it's always going to be us versus them. There's always going to be one more thing that has to be accomplished. The two-party system is always been around since America's inception, at least. You know, it was Republicans and Federalists, and then the Whigs, and then the Democrats, and then the Progressives, and then the Republicans, and, you know, now the Libertarians, and the Green Party, and Communist Party, and all of these different things. It is still two sides, you know. It's practically just this point to let people think they are doing something different when they're not. The problem with the current system is that The liberals came up with this idea. They said, okay, we want everyone treated equally. We want everyone educated equally. We want everyone medically treated equally. But we don't want to do it ourselves. If they were being self-responsible, they would do it for themselves and their neighbors, including their families. And neighbors are anybody you are close to, whether you like them or not. And then if you're doing socially responsible, it would include your enemies that aren't around you, because that way everyone is covered equally. But that's not what they did. They said, you know what, that's a great idea, but I don't want to do it myself. Let's get the government to do it. Let's get them involved. Let's make them take everybody's money, except for the rich people, because we want to be equal. And then we're going to give it out to people who may need it. They may not. Most likely they won't. Sometimes they will. But we're going to make everyone do it because we got this great idea, and that's what society needs. Society needs to look out for society. Unfortunately, no one was looking out for those looking out for society, and it became one big mess. And society stopped looking out for itself because it had the government to look out for it. The problem is both sides have allowed this to happen. It's not a liberal issue, it's not a conservative issue, it's a human issue. While one is complaining about the other, both are working together to bring us down. They can't agree on a budget good for everyone, but they can all agree that the NDAA is what we need. Would politicians and pundits perpetuate these ideas of us versus them if the people didn't? Could they? I'd like to close with the 39th verse in the Tao Te Ching. Without unity, the sky becomes filthy. Without unity, the earth becomes unstable. Without unity, the spirits become unresponsive and disappear. Without unity, the valleys become dry as a desert. Without unity, humankind can't reproduce and becomes extinct. Without unity, our leaders become corrupt and fall. Thank you.